As the men close in, a boy suddenly appears behind them and calmly tells the men to run, if they don't want to die. When he notices they aren't backing off, he removes a patch from his neck, which reveals a hole. Right at that moment, that girl behind them transforms into a massive black ant. The men get shocked to see that, and the ant kills them on the spot. The next day, a group from Bug Reaper arrives at the scene, which is in ruins after the ant attack. While searching, one of the workers informs their boss that they found severed lower body and a right arm. The worker also mentions that, according to a survivor, a boy was seen near the area during the incident. Meanwhile, at school, a girl named Choa is reading a book about the Bug Reaper group. The book explains that in 2005, monsters wearing insect masks appeared in the world. They caused destruction from physical violence to even eating people. But the most terrifying part is that these creatures live among humans, known as insectors, as she finishes reading. The teacher mentions the events from yesterday in Numundan, saying the police believe the case is linked to an inspector. Hearing this, a masked girl named Seijin turns to Choa and asks if she's from that town, and they decide to go home together, while the rest of the class talks about it. The teacher then asks everyone about their assignments and orders Choa, the class president, to collect and bring them to him. After the teacher leaves, two boys approach Choa and tell her not to submit any assignments, as no one has finished theirs. However, to their surprise, Camerson hands in his assignment to her, and when he returns to his seat, the boys approach him and ask why he submitted the assignment, when they clearly didn't want to. One boy then notices the patch on Camerson's neck. As he peels it off, he's shocked to find a hole in his neck and a small ant crawls out. He tells the others, but they brush it off. Seijin then asks Choa if she likes Camerson, which makes her blush. She heads to the teacher's office to submit both Camerson's assignment, and the teacher tells her that she and Camerson are free to go, but the rest of the class will have to stay after school to clean up, as punishment after leaving the office. Just then she remembers that Camerson lives in the same town as her. She hesitantly mentions the punishment to him and asks if she can go home with him, but he simply refuses and walks away. After school, the rest of the class is cleaning up the trash, but Camerson is nowhere to be seen. Choa explains that Camerson turned her down. Meanwhile, two boys move aside, and one asks the other about what he saw earlier. With Camerson's neck hole, the boy confirms he really saw an ant crawl out of it. As they talk, the insector suddenly appears and kills one of the boys by cutting off his head. A girl nearby is horrified by the scene and immediately starts running away. As the insector appears in front of the other students, they panic and start running for their lives as well. In the chaos, Sae Jean faints. Choa tries to wake her up, but then she notices the insector is standing close by, just as it moves in to kill her. It suddenly stops, and by calling her the class president, it confusingly asks why she is here. When Choa looks at its face, she realizes the insector is actually their teacher. The teacher angrily says that she should have listened to him, as he raises his weapon to kill her. An ant suddenly attacks and cuts off both of his hands. Choa is shocked by this, and when she looks around, she sees someone in black ant armor. At this moment, Choa faints as well in the Ant-Man. The teacher monster comments that he knows Camerson well and asks why he's killing his own kind. He asks the monster why it's killing its own students. The monster angrily replies that it has trouble finding food and threatens to eat Camerson as well. Transforming into a ball, the monster leaps at him and throws him to the ground. It jumps into the air and starts crashing into Camerson repeatedly, as the area becomes wrecked by the monster's attacks. Cameron remains calm when the monster is about to slam into him again. Cameron enlarges his hands and thrusts them into the monster's body. The monster gets shocked by this, and Camerson delivers another powerful punch to its stomach, grabs its body tightly and with all his strength. He turns it into multiple pieces. After finishing it off, Camerson transforms back into his human form and simply walks away. Soon after, the Bug Reaper group arrives at the scene. A worker then informs the boss that the schoolgirl who encountered the beetle has regained consciousness. They also learn that another student is speaking to the media, claiming he saved his friends and even got pictures of the monsters. The boss, not wanting to interfere, walks over to Choa, who is reassuring her mother on the phone. Noticing the boss smoking, Choa puts on an oxygen mask but he tells her that what he's smoking isn't a cigarette. It's insect repellent. He then asks her about the incident. When the powerful guy asks why she's calling him a human, she replies that he just looked like one. The boss then asks her to tell him which student wasn't doing the cleaning. Punishment at that time later that night. Kamisen arrives home where his grandmother greets him. However, Kamisen tells her he's not hungry. She becomes worried and asks if he's hurt anywhere, urging him to go to his room and relax. Once in his room, Kamisen turns on the TV, where the news is covering the incident from earlier that day. The report states that at a high school in Kurugu, Seoul, a large number of students were killed by their own teacher, who was revealed to be an insector. As Kamisen lies on his bed, a line of blank ants starts crawling in through the window and goes into the hole on his neck. The next day, at an abandoned building, the police force is on a mission to search for some missing children outside the building. The Bug Reaper group waits in their car for the police's call. Tae asks if they can't just go in and rescue the children, but Sam replies that the police have priority in the investigation. Just then the police call and urgently request their help. Upon hearing this, the leader orders the boys to get in the building quickly. Inside the building, the police begin cutting the cocoons and reassures the children that they've been saved. At this moment, the captain sees a quick attack that kills one of the soldiers. Instantly, as he looks around, he notices a mosquito inspector has arrived and asks what they are doing with his children. When a second soldier opens fire on the inspector, it leaps at him with incredible speed and kills him on the spot. The captain realizes it's faster than a bullet as the insector moves to attack him. As the insector tries again to attack the captain, Tae steps in and strikes it with a stick. P.O. orders the captain to get the children out of there, and just as the insecta leaps toward him, P.O. calmly flicks the smoke from his cigarette at it, which causes the insector to fall. But the insector doesn't give up. It breaks its nose tip and launches a series of mosquito attacks at them. P.O. quickly throws more smoke at it and saves everyone, but the insector escapes through the window. P.O. orders Sam to shoot it, but before he can act, he gets injured by the swarm of mosquito attacks. The next day, Choa sits in the playground with her younger brother and his friend, reading about the school incident. She feels bad for Sajin, who had brain surgery and is refusing visitors. As she reads her younger brother, wearing a bee mask, tries to scare her. When she stops him, he runs off. Choa comments that she hates looking after him, especially since he's not going to school. When she looks up, he hands one to her brother, and the three of them start eating together. Suddenly, Choa's brother kicks the soccer ball, and it falls out of the playground. He tells Choa about it and quickly goes with his friend to pick it up. Choa tries to stop him, but Camerson reassures her that he'll bring him back. He arrives at the spot and sees the second kid standing there, holding the soccer ball, who asks him why he's there. As Choa's brother heads back to her, the kid remarks that Camerson looks like a fellow compatriot. This kid is actually the mosquito inspector from the previous day. Kamisen peels off the patch from his neck. The mosquito inspector comments that Kamisen has been spreading rumors about his competitors and says that now he will be the one to die, saying that the mosquito insector transforms into his original form. And by moving around Kamisen, he asks if he is really that slow that he can't even see him. Afterward, he transforms back into his human form and returns to Choa and her brother. The little boy asks for more ice cream, and Kamisen happily hands him all of them by saying that he's now full. The next day, the students return to school after a week off. They must now sit with students from other classes. She glances sadly at her chat with Sei-jin and, looking around, mutters that even though she's in a new class, that annoying guy Nosu is still here. Meanwhile, as Nosu is causing a noise with some other boys, Yi-jin, the brave girl in this class, is annoyed by the noise and by suddenly kicking him. She orders him to stay quiet. Afterwards, she walks away, and Choa thinks that Yi-jin is much better at handling guys like him. Seeing him, Choa calls out to him and excitedly tells him that the girl who just left is the real deal. In this class, after the teacher assigns a test, just then he hears a secretive voice and realizes that an inspector is waiting for him. Once the test ends and the other students relax, Choa looks over at Kamisen's seat, but he's gone. Kamisen is actually heading toward the source of the voice. Meanwhile, Pio and Tay are on their way to the school, discussing the mosquito inspector from the previous day. Suddenly, Kamisen bumps into Pio, but continues on his way. Choa explains that the student went home because he was hungry. Tay then asks if the guy who bumped into Pio earlier was the student. Pio hands her his card, and by telling her to give it to the student, he heads to the hospital to meet Sam. Meanwhile, as Camerson reaches the spot and transforms into Ant-Man, he notices an insector standing there. He swiftly tries to attack, but the insect dodges and kicks him back. Kamisen leaps forward again, landing a powerful punch to the insector's face, confused by its movements. Suddenly, a bomb emerges from the insector's mouth, which explodes and sends Kamisen back. At this moment, the real insector, Silk, arrives. She strictly asks Kamisen if he has ever killed a fly before. Just then, another insector with a huge gun arrives and comments that the death of the fly has put them in a difficult situation, as the customers looking for young meat are now angry. He orders Silk to kill Kamisen. She responds with a powerful kick to his head. But to her surprise, she realizes it's just Kamisen's shell, not him at this moment. Kamisen leaps down from above with armored hands and attempts to punch Silk. As he prepares to land a punch, Silk grabs his arm with her threads from behind. Noticing the opportunity, she delivers a powerful kick and sends him to the ground. Kneeling down, Camerson faces the other insector, who points the gun at his head. Just before the shot can be fired, he orders his black ant shell to move. At this moment, Tay arrives and redirects the gun away from Kamisen, as Pio prepares to end this. Silk suddenly launches a bomb attack at them, and both she and the insector quickly fly away. Tay tells Pio that now their priority is to capture the black ant, but when they look back, they're shocked to see he's gone as well. Tay worries that if their commander finds out, they'll let him escape again. They'll be in serious trouble. Meanwhile, Kamisen returns home and sits down to eat with his grandmother. He eats quickly because he is hungry, and after finishing his meal, he heads to his room. But his mind wanders back to the words of the insects he killed, who mentioned that he had started killing his own kind. As he thinks about this, he removes his shirt. Meanwhile, in a secret location, Yi-Jean is busy gathering human cocoons. She's actually the Silk who attacked Kamisen earlier. She heads to her boss, another insector, who angrily complains that he needed to capture the black ant to gain the attention of the heavenly insects. But the bug reapers interfered. When Yi-Jean removes her jacket, her boss is surprised by what he sees. He grabs her sleeve and tells her that her uniform is identical to Ant-Man's and demands to know if she knows him. She denies it, but he insists that Ant-Man is her classmate and orders her to kill him. Yi-Jean clearly expresses that she doesn't want to do such dirty work, but the boss grabs her by the neck and reminds her that she once promised she would do anything, but now she is refusing as he talks to her. Suddenly, his dog barks from outside. Checking the camera, he asks Yi-Jean if she forgot to lock the room. She reassures him that she didn't, and adds that she's quitting the job at this moment. He throws a bomb at the escaping boy, which kills him instantly. Yi-Jean is stunned by this, and he repeats that she has to kill the black ant. The next day, at school, the students are having lunch. No-Soo asks the chef for more sauce, but she refuses. He then notices Kamisen eating a lot and feels confused. Choa also comments that Kamisen is eating more than usual as he continues to eat. Noticing his behavior, Choa asks about the problem. Choa tells him that Kamisen is paying for 10 lunches, and No-Soo teasingly adds that if someone eats this much, maybe they're an insector. Hearing this, Yi-Jean glances at Kamisen, and when No-Soo continues to annoy him, he angrily grabs him by the mouth, and by throwing him aside, he rushes out of the room, thinking that his hunger isn't satisfied yet. The ants inside him are attacking, and he's starting to lose control. As he screams in pain, his upper body suddenly transforms into Ant-Man. At this moment, Yi-Jean arrives and realizes that Kamisen is an insector. She quickly transforms as well, and he leaps at her to attack, but she blocks his move with her threads. After that, he dreams of being caught by large black ants, begging them to leave him alone. As he suffers, a big red ant arrives and kills all the black ants. Suddenly, he wakes up in his bed. He wonders if the silence of the ants means they finally killed her. His grandmother calls out to him, asking if he wants something to eat. Cameron declines, and she asks if he caught any bugs yesterday. He tells her he doesn't remember, and inquires about how he made a home. She mentions that a tall girl with yellow hair carried him back, which surprises him. She adds that the girl arrived covered in blood. Kamisen denies it and realizes that Yejin must still be alive. At this moment, he hears the familiar secret voice of the other insector and begins moving toward it. With the boss commenting on the trouble Yejin has caused, he asks why she hasn't killed the black ant yet. As they talk, Cameron arrives there in his Ant-Man form. Both Y-Agent and her boss also shift into their insector forms. Yejin leaps at Kamisen to attack, but he easily dodges her using his powerful hand. He delivers a crushing punch to her stomach, which sends her back and also breaks her armor. As Kamisen moves forward, she asks where he's going, since the battle isn't over. She grabs his foot, telling him that if she doesn't catch him, she won't be able to complete her goal of taking revenge on the celestial insects. Watching this, her boss remarks that she is completely useless, who just crawls on the ground. She calls him Jangyul and asks what he's doing. He responds by questioning if she truly thinks he would help her with her revenge. He adds that in the end, he planned to offer her to the celestial insects as well. Feeling angry, Yejin tells him that she's endured all these hardships for him, and now he's just going to let her die like this. As Jiang prepares to attack her with a hand strike, but Jiang doesn't see him. When Kamisen lands, a blast erupts, and he leaps into the air again. Meanwhile, Kamisen thinks that he needs to increase his speed and aim for Jiang's hand to defeat him. He activates a surge of power within himself. As Jiang moves to strike again, Kamensun dodges the attack, and by swiftly grabbing his hand, he quickly cuts off his head. Yejin gets shocked to see that, and he transforms back into his human form and orders the ants to consume the body. As he walks forward, Yejin calls out to him, asking why he saved her and if he's against the celestial insects. Then Kamisen demands to tell him what happened the day they fought. Feeling surprised that he doesn't remember, she begins explaining that when she blocked his attack, he threw her harshly to the ground. As his armored hand moves to strike her, he orders it to stop. However, his own hand suddenly turns on him, and Yajin grabs it with her threads. In that moment, something triggers, and Kamisama transforms back into his human form, but faints. She continues that after that. She spent a long time thinking about whether or not to kill him. Eventually, she realized that he might be the hidden key to destroying the celestial insects, telling him everything. She explains that now he is the target of the celestial insects. Because Jiang is dead and their supply of humans will decrease, they'll target his family, friends, and anyone close to him. She assures him that she will help him and they have to fight together. However, Kamisen rejects her offer, claiming that she's just clinging to anything because she can't handle this on her own. He tells her that he can't help those who are already lost. With that, he places his aunt's hand on her face and says he will devour everything. The next day at school, the teacher comes in and calls attendance. Noticing this, Nosu and his friend look pleased. They mention that there was an accident at Namunchen the day before, and since they often saw Yejin there, it likely means she's dead. The two are pleased by the news, but to their surprise, Yejin walks in and presents herself to the teacher. Meanwhile, at the spot where Jiang was defeated, a group from the Bug Reapers is inspecting the area. They find his prosthetic leg and a strange bug pill. As they examine the scene, a healthy man approaches who attempts to enter the restricted area. A worker tries to stop him by placing a hand on his shoulder, but the man quickly cuts the worker's hand away. The group immediately reacts, and one of them calls for backup, reporting that there is an untransformed insector present. The healthy man then kills everyone at the scene. After picking up the bug pill, he makes a call and informs the person on the other end that the sample has been secured. Meanwhile, at school, Yejin tosses a note to Kamisen asking to meet him outside. When he joins her, he seriously asks why she called him. She questions why he's asking, as if he doesn't already know. She recalls the moment when he had placed his hand over her mouth, and how in that instant, she thought she was going to die. But when she woke up, she found herself safe. As she reflects on this, Kimison steps closer to her, and she asks for his cooperation. He dismisses her, saying that she's just emergency food for him. Then she explains that he's now a target of the insectors too, and adds that insectors have one goal: to eliminate humans and rise to the top of the food chain. To achieve this, they're growing in size and eliminating anything that stands in their way. Despite her words, he still refuses. As they talk, Choa watches from above and feels a bit jealous at the sight of them together. Outside the room, the others watch, and Pa mentions that they've recently lost 4 members in an accident, which is why he wants to issue this suit to everyone. The doctor begins testing the suit by opening another door, where an insector enters alone with the insector. Tae feels uneasy about his weapon, but the doctor reassures him, telling him to activate the built-in weapon in his suit. As Tae prepares, he suddenly notices that the insector is no longer in front of him. Feeling confused, he turns and gets surprised to see the insector appear behind him. When the insector tries to attack, the suit reacts quickly and pulls Tae out of the way just in time. Tae feels more confident, but the doctor warns him that this insector can move at speeds over 300 kilometers h, so he must stay focused on its movements. As the insector attempts to punch him, he blocks the attack and kicks it back. However, the insector grabs his neck, but before it can do more damage, an electric current strikes the insector, which saves Tae. The doctor announces that the test is complete and escorts the insector back to the special room. Meanwhile, Pio heads to the library to investigate further. Just as he's about to leave, he discovers a book titled Ant Castle Project. He opens it and finds a photo of an insector. Meanwhile, Yi Jean explains to Kamisen that, in addition to dealing with the insectors, she has another goal: to kill a specific person. Feeling surprised, Kamisama asks who it is, and she reveals that the person is the leader of the celestial insects. Kijima hearing this, he recalls a moment when Kijima had killed his mother. As Kamisen walks home, she calls out to him from behind, and with a friendly tone, she asks if he's going hunting. When he declines, she suggests they could enjoy some meat together. Since they've reunited, Kamisen strictly asks if she plans to eat humans. She reassures him that she just wants to eat some delicious meat, not humans. They arrive at a hotel and order their meal as the waiter sets down their food. However, they're both surprised as Kamisen and Yi Jean begin eating quickly. Yi Jean then asks him what he knows about Kajima. When he refuses to answer, she remarks that something must have happened to his family. She tells him how Kajima killed both her parents, but she can't forget Kajima's words when he spared her life, saying he couldn't kill his own kind. After their meal, they leave the restaurant, and Yi Jean suggests they grab a drink, while she is ordering at a nearby drink shop. When a girl and a boy walk by, he angrily declares that he's going to eat them. The girl laughs, and they walk away. When Yi Jean returns and asks about his strange look about the couple, he responds that someone is an insectors. Meanwhile, Choa arrives at the hospital where her friend Se-jin is staying. Standing outside her room, she acknowledges that she knows Se-jin doesn't want to see her, so she's just leaving a gift. Se-jin tells her to leave, and as Choa walks away, she reflects on their past moments, and also notices a beautiful girl walking down the corridor. Back in Sa-jin's room, she sits quietly on her bed. Suddenly the door opens and the same beautiful girl enters. She asks Sa-jin why she's angry, telling her that she shouldn't bottle up her feelings, saying she needs to kill all the annoying humans as soon as Se-jin swallows the pill. Meanwhile, the same boy and the girl are in the backyard, and she's amazed to see a pool and throws her to the bottom of the pool, which causes her to faint. He mutters that now he can eat her to satisfy his hunger. Zuboy Yasikti suddenly feels something strange outside the window. It's Kamisen the Ant-Man, who bursts through the glass and kicks the boy hard. The insector tries to fight back, but Yi Jean arrives, and by using her thread magic, she ties him. She then pulls the girl out of the water and feels relieved to see that she's still alive. When the insector asks why they're interrupting his meal, Kamisen moves to attack him, but Yi Jean stops him and suggests that capturing the insector might reveal something important. Realizing they're hunting their own kind, the insector demands to know if they're truly confident they can defeat him. Suddenly, he transforms into his insector form, Zagana, and launches powerful slashes at them, which give some injuries to them. He mocks them that they've always hunted weaklings. So now they dare to challenge a member of the celestial insects. Zagana is actually a pawn skater insect, and as Kamison and Yi-Jin try to strike, he easily blocks their attacks with his twin swords, and swiftly leaps toward Kamison to attack. Then Yejin quickly pulls Kamison out of the way of the attack. She feels confused by Zagana's movements, and wonders if he has control over the water. She reflects on the power of the celestial insects, realizing they are far stronger than she expected. Even among the insectors, as she is thinking that, Kamison suddenly leaps towards Zagana and orders her to lay a thread across the water surface. Despite her worries, she follows his command, and he realizes that he has to unlock the mysterious red power he gained from defeating Zhang. He moves closer to Zagana. By focusing on eliminating the troublesome twin swords, the fight turns into a close combat struggle, and with swift moves Kamison lands some punches on Zagana's ribs, causing the swords to drop. Fueling the red power, he leaps toward him for a final attack. However, to his surprise, Zagana pulls out 2 more swords from his back and delivers a powerful cross slash that cuts through Kamison's armor, just as things are getting wrong. Yi-Jin steps in, and by grabbing Zagana's sword with her threads, she pulls it up from his hand. Seeing the chance, Kamison swiftly grabs the sword and drives it into Zagana's chest. Zagana tries to retaliate with another slash, but Kamison blocks it with his hand and commands the ants to swarm and devour the insector, which causes Zagana to scream in pain. Suddenly, the same healthy guy, who had previously killed members of the Bug Reaper group, appears. He punches Kamison in the face, and by also striking Yejin, he throws his club card toward them and brings Zagana out of there. Meanwhile, Sajin returns to her town and goes to visit her friend, who is surprised to see her. Her friend asks her to move aside, but Sajin steps closer and gives her a sweet kiss on the lips, something she often does, however. This time things are different, because Sae Jean is now an insector who extends a long tongue from her mouth and kills her friend on the spot. Once she's finished, the same beautiful woman who had given Sae Jean the bug pill in the hospital appears. He feels hungry, and suddenly with his long tongue, she spots Kamu ahead, and as she looks at his face, she's surprised to see that it's injured. As they walk together, he explains that he was in a fight when Showa arrives at school. She's happy to see Sejin, who looks much better now. She comments that she was so worried because she hadn't even visited her. Sejin tells her that she was trying to avoid meeting because she had gotten her hair cut, and Sae Jean asks her about the seat next to her. Showa mentions that it belongs to Yejin. The class leader, meanwhile, Yejin rests at home and texts Kamison that she can't come to school because she has been to the hospital. She then looks at the card thrown by the mysterious man and wonders who he could be. At school, Nosu teases Sae Jean about her short hair when he notices a cut on the back of her head. He's surprised, but continues to tease her. As Sae Jean starts to get angry and her insect side begins to emerge, Choa suddenly punches Nosu in the face and tells him to apologize to Sion for his behavior. Nosu agrees and quickly walks away. Meanwhile, Kamison senses something strange in Sion's energy and thinks it's too unstable for her to be an insector. The man who killed all the passengers transforms into his larva. Insector form at this moment. 2 brothers of the Bug Reaper group, Ko and Ro, arrive and are shocked by the size of the larva insector. Ro says they need to capture it and take it to headquarters so the doctor can investigate it. As they talk, the insector suddenly attempts to attack Ro, but Ko quickly throws a liquid at its face and shoots it in the head. However, the insector doesn't go down and it strikes Ro with its tail. Ko angrily grabs the insector and comments that he's much stronger than his brother and throws it away, noticing the opportunity. Ro leaps at the insector and swiftly cuts it away. As the insector dies, Ko says they still need to bring it back to headquarters, but Ro has already killed it. Just then a small bug pill emerges from the insector's body and crawls into Ro's head. Afterward, the brothers arrive at the Bug Reaper group's headquarters, carrying the large larva as they talk about. Dr. Mante and Sam call out to them from a corner. They mention hearing about the larva capture, but tease the brothers that it's too bad. They were the first to catch it. Rose steps forward with an unusual attitude surprising Tae with his sudden behavior. Meanwhile, the doctors begin inspecting the large insector and discover the small larva inside it. Back at school, class ends, and Choa signals to Sae Jean that they have to get some meat together. They head to a hotel where Kamisen is also with them, and Sage and teasingly asks Choa if she's dating him, but Choa quickly denies it. However, Sae Jean feels confused to notice the way Kamisen is looking at her. After they enjoy their meal, they leave the restaurant, and suddenly Sae Jean receives a message that surprises her. She turns to Choa and says she needs to go somewhere urgently. As she leaves, Kamisen and Choa start walking together. Choa happily comments that she's glad to see Seo Jean, looking brighter than she expected. Then she suddenly remembers that she needs to give Seo Jean an important book when she tells Camerson she's going to leave. He grabs her hand and asks her not to go. A car stops in front of her. An elderly man inside tells her to get in quickly. Nearby, Nosu's friend looks at Sae Jean and comments that he got punched because of her earlier. He also mentions he's jealous of her dad's nice car. Nosu quickly dismisses it, saying she doesn't have a dad. Later that night, Yi Jean heads to the club of the healthy guy, feeling worried they might only check her ID. When she arrives, she's surprised by the size of the club's building and the long line of men waiting outside. She texts Kamisen asking him to come to the 6-shot club, but when he refuses, she comments that he always does this. At this moment, a man calls out to her from behind and asks if it's her first time at the club. He turns out to be Park Min-yeon, the same insector she encountered earlier. Then he leads her inside the club, and she's immediately amazed by the beauty and lighting of the place. To herself, she thinks that this is just a flashy club to gather information about the insectors. She shows him the card and says she was invited here. Minion looks at the card and tells her they need to move to another area. As they walk, they come to a large elevator where Yi Jean gets surprised by its size and adds that they don't give invitations to just anyone. But it seems like she has some connection with her boss. As they reach the lower level, Yi Jean is stunned by the sight before her. There's a huge crowd of humans and insectors, some of them even fighting on a battlefield. Minion tells her that this is the VIP area of Club 6. Shot a lawless heaven and earth as humans kill an insector. A large one named Jack suddenly appears and starts attacking the humans. Then he explains that the massive insector standing there is Queen Jack, the star of No Man's Land. He adds that with her size, she can rival any other species, but there is still some stronger than her. Yi Jean is shocked and asks what the meaning of this violence is. Park tells her that it excites and entertains the humans, while insectors gain honor through it. He adds that strength alone isn't enough. Most importantly, their ideology must align. He hands her a bug pill and mentions that there's also another way to become a celestial insector, and informs him that the boss is looking for him. Yi Jean gets scared and quickly leaves through the big elevator. Park looks confused, and when the inspector repeats the message about the boss, Park punches him hard in the face. The next day at school, Yi Jean approaches Camerson and starts hitting him playfully for not going with her to the club. When she gets tired, she tells him she has gathered some important information. Just then, Sae Jean and Choa enter the classroom. The guys start murmuring that Sajin was with an old man yesterday. Hearing this, all of the guys are surprised, and Sajin grabs Choa's hand and tries to pull her away. But before they can leave, Nosu approaches and begins teasing her. He mentions that his friend told him Sejin's dad picked her up in the car yesterday. Then he remembers that Sejin doesn't have a dad. He adds that he was concerned when he saw the old man's expressions, so he quickly took a taxi and followed them. He even shows a picture of Sagyeon entering a hotel with the old man. As No-Soo continues to irritate her, Yujin turns to Kamisen and says they need to teach him a lesson again. But before they can act, Kamisen suddenly senses something strange coming from the insector. Choa steps forward to punch No-Soo, but Sae Jean stops her, and by taking her outside the classroom, she gently reassures her that she'll handle it herself. She closes the classroom door, but No-Soo warns her that he'll report her to the school violence committee if she hits him again suddenly. She starts laughing, which confuses the guys, and No-Soo's friend mockingly apologizes to her. But he gets stunned when SAE Jean begins to transform into an insector. She punches him hard, and the entire class starts running for the door. But she blocks their way with her large hand. Looking at it all, Jean turns to Kamisen and asks if they should do something, but he rejects it, because it's not a good idea with so many people watching. Then Sage, and orders Nosu to step forward from where he's hiding, among the others nervously. He approaches her, but she quickly grabs his neck with her long hand and angrily tells him that it's his fault. Her dream was shattered because he's the one who pushed her down when the teacher inspector attacked them before. As she's about to kill him with her long tongue, Kamisen stops her and asks what she'll say to Choa if she kills Nosu. Meanwhile, Nosu orders his companions to report to the Bug Reaper. But when they don't move, he turns to Kamisen and gives the same order. Hearing this, Sejin releases Nosu. She adds that even if she kills him now, she won't feel guilty. She pulls out some bug pills from her bag and tells him that she will make him feel the same pain she experienced as she puts the pills into his mouth. He suddenly starts screaming in pain, and his body transforms into a bug insector, which shocks everyone seeing this. Jean remembers the moment when Park had handed her the same bug pills, and she understands their purpose. Sitting by the window, Sejin comments that Nosu now completely resembles a bug. Just then a teacher and Choa knock on the door. Sejin mutters that she doesn't want Choa to see her like this, and that she hates humans. With that, she jumps out of the window and quickly leaves the scene. As Choa and the teacher manage to push the door open, they're shocked to find a huge insector standing before them. The guy who was unconscious wakes up and comments that the insector is actually Sagan. He quickly grabs his phone, intending to report this to the Bug Reaper group. However, before he can make the call, Choa stops him meanwhile, and is horrified to see that he has completely transformed into an insector, while Kamisen and Yejin head in the direction where Sejin went. As they run through the streets, Yejin remarks that she believes Sejin is connected to Cha Eun-young. She points out that the medicine she gave Nosu. In some time, they reach the location where they find SAE Jean. They ask her to talk for a moment, but before she can respond, the same woman named Hannah appears. She hugs SAE Jean tightly and says that there's one thing she hates in this world: when someone touches what belongs to her. Hearing this, Jean responds that she doesn't understand what Hannah is talking about, but they're just here to talk to Sejin. Suddenly, Hannah leaps forward to kick Jean, but Kamisen pushes her aside and takes the kick himself. As Hannah prepares to punch Jean, she stops and gently sucks her ear. Jean tries to strike her, but Hannah swiftly moves out of the way, revealing that she's an insector. In response, Jean transforms into her insector form and attempts to attack, but Hannah easily dodges her strike. Turning to Kamisen, she sees he is also transformed into his insector form and leaps toward her to punch her. But Hannah quickly sidesteps and says that they won't catch her with such predictable moves, because disappearing in front of their eyes is her specialty. Meanwhile, Sejin is shocked to see that her friend Kamisen is also an insector. Kamisen jumps at Hannah again, aiming a powerful punch with his large hand, while Eugene casts a star trap around her using thread magic. However, both attacks have no effect on Hannah. She quickly forms a large injection in her hand and drives it into Kim Yuzin's stomach. Seeing his blood, she gets surprised to find it's red. Just as Eugene leaps toward her, Hannah redirects the injection attack and strikes her arm instead. Eugene is confused because neither attack seems to affect them. But then the areas where Hannah injected them begin to swell. A blast erupts, causing their armor to shatter as Hannah prepares to strike them again. SAE Jean steps in between and quickly lies that there are customers who wanted to know about the medicine. Hearing this, Hannah immediately stops, and by showing them the same bug pill, she explains that it is a special medicine that grants insectors great power. When consumed, she adds that if a human takes it, they will transform into a mutant larva. And if they eat larva, the effect will be doubled. Both Kamisen and Yajin are shocked by this information. As two humans pass by, Hannah calls one of them over to demonstrate. She places the bug pill in the boy's mouth, and within moments his body begins to transform into a large larva. The other boy becomes scared to see this and Eugene is also shocked to see it happen. Once again, Hannah explains that it's a gift for them, as consuming the bug pill will make them stronger. With that, she leaves with SAE Jean, suggesting they visit her at Club 6 Shot if they're interested in the medicine. As they walk away, Kamison steps forward and defeats the larva, which surprises Eugene, and she asks if he really plans to eat the transformed human. As the ants begin consuming the larva, Yejin angrily remarks that Kamison isn't any different from the other insectors, who eat humans just for power. She feels disgusted, but Camerson simply orders her to stay silent and watch what happens. To her surprise, the guy begins transforming back into his human form, the ants moving inside his body. Retrieve the bug pill from his mouth. Kamison explains that he's been uneasy about this existence ever since he first sensed it around SAE Jean. Eugene surprisingly asks if it's safe to let the ants eat them, and whether it will affect Kamison. He admits he doesn't know. And as the ants return to his body, something strange begins to happen. He screams in pain, and Eugene becomes even more concerned. At Club 6 Shot, the boss, Kongdae, June sits with several girl inspectors and enjoys drinks. Hannah arrives with SAE Jean, and as they settle in, she remarks that she and Kong are equals here. Kong notices something on her arm and asks if she's been in a fight. Hannah confirms it's saying the opponent was feisty because he was young. As they talk, Kong suddenly mentions that 50 bug pills disappeared yesterday. Hannah casually responds that it means he got robbed. Without warning, Kong leaps forward and grabs Sejin's face, quickly draws an injection and aims it at Kong's neck. In response, the other two girls draw their swords at her. Kong then demands answers from Sejin about the missing pills, and Sejin tells him that she fed them all to No Su as part of her revenge on him. Hearing her explanation, Kong calms down and releases his grip. Hannah asks if he already knew she was the culprit. Kong explains that after discovering Sagan was behind the theft last night, he had her followed. He then adds that he's eager to find the person who consumed the 50 bug pills because he wants to eat him himself. Meanwhile, the Bug Reaper team is on a mission, tracking the larva insector Nosu. They corner him and attack. As Nosu loses control, the ground starts pulling the team members down, and to their surprise, Park appears, accompanied by Child Insector. Seeing the situation, Pa sheaths his sword, and Park asks his companion if they're giving up on the fight. The team members inform Pa. The Child Insector senses something bad. Growing angry, Park transforms into his Insector form. As Pa approaches, Park steps in between and begins to fight him. At the same moment, the Bug Reaper team stops sinking, and Pa orders them to capture the large larva at all costs. He draws his sword once more, attempting to slash at Park, but Park easily blocks the attack. The fight intensifies as Park engages with twin swords. As Pio steps back, he asks if his attack feels heavier to him at this moment. Pio throws smoke at Park and distracts him, which causes Pio to land a powerful slash on his shoulder. Then the child transforms into a formidable insector named Antlion, who attacks from beneath the ground. The injured member starts sinking into the ground again. Hearing this, Pio gets surprised, and the team members focus on the fact that the insectors are trying to escape, as Pio attempts to attack them with his weapon. He realizes the weapon's battery is drained, just as Pa makes another attempt to catch Antlion. The insector throws one of the team members aside and swiftly escapes. As the fight ends, Pa seriously remarks that he will have to investigate all the clubs in the neighborhood, because now it's their turn to hunt. Meanwhile, Kamison chases an insector who is terrified of him. As he gets closer, at school, some students gather around No Su's empty seat, placing flowers in remembrance of him. After his death at the hands of an insector, some girls talk about Sejin, who also transformed into an insector. Hearing this, Showa feels upset and sternly tells them not to refer to Sajin as an insector, as she is her friend. Showa then approaches Eugene, asking her to tell her the truth about Sajin, as she was in the class at that time. Choa explains that while she saw everything through the window, she hadn't intervened because she was deeply saddened that her friend had turned into an insector. After speaking, Choa walks away and Yejin feels concerned for her. Meanwhile, in a hidden spot, Kamison watches calmly as his insector shelter consumes the body of another insector. He reflects on how, after consuming the larva that day, the number of ants increased. After several failed attempts, he created a swarm, and now he can let it hunt on its own, causing all the black ants to return to his body. Suddenly, he senses the presence of 3 insectors nearby. He thinks that this is a perfect opportunity to test his new strength. Transforming into Ant-Man, he heads toward their location. But as he draws closer, he senses that one of the insectors has suddenly vanished. He watches from a distance as 2 insectors stand under the bridge. He sees one of them Bara. Kill his companion Bara calls out to the second insector Red and asks if he brought him here just for this. Red confirms and explains that he's been wanting to take down their enemies for a long time. He adds that he hasn't been able to do so due to management control, but now he can at that. Bara leaps at Red, but Red lands a powerful punch to his stomach and defeats him instantly. Then Red senses Kamisen watching from afar. He calls out and asks if he wants to face him in a fight as well. Kamisen agrees and steps forward. Red asks him for his name, stating that before he kills someone, you should at least know their name, saying that he leaps forward and punches Kamisen in the chest. However, the punch has no effect, and in return, then Kamisen introduces himself as Black Ant, but Kamisen easily dodges his attack and then counters with a punch. Red thinks that he can easily avoid it, but when the punch lands on his face, he kneels down and realizes that while the punch seems simple to read, its power and speed are unbelievable. In response, Red activates his full power mode, though he didn't want to use it. But it's an emergency now. As he punches him again, a blinding light bursts from Red's body, shattering the entire bridge. Both of them quickly jump off the bridge to avoid the destruction. Just then, Kamisen notices a bus is about to fall. Without hesitation, he throws his ant shell attack at Red and rushes to save the bus. Red dodges the attack and follows Kamisen to help. Together, they manage to save everyone on the bus. Red then says that the second round has begun. He leaps at Kamisen to attack, but Kamisen easily stops him and delivers a powerful punch to Red's face. Cracking his face armor, he grabs Red by the neck, but just as he's about to finish him, he throws him aside and walks away. Despite this, Red comments that he will definitely destroy him after that. Her mother asks where she is and mentions that Arthur told her. Choa goes looking for SAE Jean every day. After school, Choa tries to hide the truth, but when her mother insists she come home immediately, Choa agrees as she turns to head home. The child turns out to be Cheon, the same ant lion who had attacked the Bug Reaper group before. He tells her that he knows where SAE Jean is and starts leading her to another location. Pleased with this, Choa asks how SAE Jean is doing with his job. Cheon replies that Sagun is stuck with Hanag and won't let go, describing it as a kind of disease. After hearing about her, Choa feels reassured and tells Cheon she needs to go now. But Cheon suddenly reveals that the real reason he brought her here wasn't because of Sagun. It's because he's hungry and now he plans to eat her, as he summons some larvae. Choa gets scared. Cheon explains that he fled for his life and uses his ability to catch her, as he sends the larvae to attack. Yi Jean suddenly appears, using her thread ability to cut them all down. She kicks Ant Lion away and frees Choa from his trap as some of the larvae attack her. She effortlessly grabs them with her threads and cuts them down on the spot. Ant Lion grows more confused and asks why she suddenly showed up while he was eating. He realizes she's the one who destroyed the Zagana, but he's curious about her second companion, wondering how she plans to defeat him alone. In response, Yi Jean pulls out a bug pill, specifically designed to deal with celestial insectors like him. Without hesitation, she swallows the pill, which only fuels Ant Lion's anger. He throws a long arm attack at her, but to his surprise, she grows stronger in an instant. She cuts through his long arms with just her hair. She leaps at him, delivering a powerful kick that cuts through his actual arms. He launches a long tongue attack at her, wrapping it around her neck. However, he grows even more worried when he sees that the attack doesn't even leave a scratch. She calmly tells him that his attack won't affect her because she's become stronger. She then grabs his tongue with her threads and slices it off. Ant Leon screams in pain and tries to escape by burrowing into the ground. He vows to return for revenge. But Yi-Jin isn't about to let him go. She quickly spreads more thread nets underground and tears him into pieces. After finishing him off, she feels satisfaction realizing how much stronger she has become. She has even taken down a celestial insector. Just then Park appears in his insectiform and challenges her to the second round. Yi-Jin feels a bit scared at first, noticing Kamuzin isn't with her. But she quickly reassures herself, knowing that, with her new powers, she can handle this fight on her own. With that thought, she quickly leaps at him, launching a hair attack and declaring that she'll take care of him. Now Park tries to block the attack with his twin swords, but the force of her hair shatters both swords instantly, and mutters that the effects of the drug are starting to end. As he begins counting, Yi-Jin gets closer, aiming to kick him just as he expected. The drug's power fades, and the powerful hair from her head vanishes. Feeling surprised, she realizes what's happening. Then Park tells her that the bug pill's effect doesn't last long, by putting the sword on his neck. He orders her to come with him quietly. Suddenly, he receives a message from Chiyo, who asks him if he will be going to school tomorrow. Kamuzin thinks about it for a moment, and decides he's still not good at controlling the swarm. So he doesn't need to go. He then texts Yi-Jin asking about her. As Park watches, he recognizes her as the same girl who came to the club the other day. He then hears a sound coming from her purse. He checks her phone and sees a message from Black Ant. As he checks his phone, he notices a new message with a photo, with a Club 6-shot card placed on it. At the club, Park approaches Yi-Jin, who is locked in a cage after the fight, and asks why she's so weak. Then he asks her why she's doing all this. Yejin replies that her goal is insect extermination. Park is surprised by her answer, but adds that he spared her because in the end, they're all the same. He tells her that the next match will start soon, and it's a special one for her, so she needs to get ready. Meanwhile, in the battleground, the referee Jaja begins announcing the match. He explains that 10 participants will enter the ring, but only one will survive. He first introduces the protagonist of this match, Yi-Jin, as she enters. An opponent will be added. If they can't kill their opponent within a minute, the enemies will continue to grow, leading to a cruel death. Then he announces the second player and the match begins. The insecta leaps toward Yi-Jin, aiming to attack. Meanwhile, another insecta, Red, is practicing in his cage with Park standing beside him. Park tells Red that he's the 10th player in the match. Red looks at him seriously and asks if he really wants him to participate in such an unreasonable game. He suggests that Park should use him as the star of the main event, but Park replies that if he did, Red would kill all the other players and ruin the business. Red adds that he wants to kill Park and Kong, the boss, just as they're talking. Park's phone rings, and he's shocked to hear the news that the elevator, used by the VIPs to descend, is missing. Park quickly orders Red to get ready as his opponent has arrived. Meanwhile, in the battleground, the referee is surprised to see that Yi-Jin has easily defeated her 4th opponent. He quickly announces that the 5th contestant, Queen Jack, has arrived. Jack attacks with swift moves, overpowering Yi-Jin and throwing her to the ground. As Yi-Jin grows exhausted, 3 more contestants appear and surround her. Just as a minute passes, the referee prepares to call on the 9th player. However, to his shock, the head of the 9th player is suddenly cut off in front of him. Then Kamuzin enters the arena in his powerful insecta form. The referee strictly asks who he is, commenting that unregistered players aren't allowed to fight. Kamuzin orders him to stay quiet, then throws a fire attack with his hand, which melts the referee's arm. Afterward, he demands to know where Yi-Jin is and orders them to bring her to him. He begins shooting at the other insects, but suddenly Yi-Jin calls out to him from behind the crowd. She warns him that if he continues, he'll risk dragging her into his attack. Though happy to see him, her expression quickly shifts. Kamuzin hesitates to shoot because she's there. Park orders the other insectors to attack and kill Kamuzin, effortlessly taking them down. Seeing this, Jack jumps at him and presses him to the ground. Park orders her to bring Kamuzin to him. However, to his surprise, Jack's body suddenly bursts into pieces and Kamuzin emerges from it. Cameron orders him to hand over Yi-Jin, calling her his emergency food. Park angrily tells them he will return their money. but only if they place even bigger bets. The real opponent is behind him, the 10th player of the battle. Kamisen turns around and sees Red, the same opponent he fought earlier. He asks if he is seeking revenge, and Red confirms it before leaping at him to attack. But to his surprise, Red changes direction midair and lands a powerful punch directly on Park's face instead. Kamisen feels confused about this, and Red tells him that he has observed everything from above and assures him he can leave now. He promises to handle Park on his own. Park transforms into his insector form and begins battling Red. She asks how he managed to get down here without the key card. However, as Cameron starts climbing, he senses something odd to his shock. Kong the boss suddenly appears and delivers a hard punch to Cameron's face. Breaking his face armor, Kong glares at him, demanding to know how he dared destroy the club's property. But his servant interrupts, informing him that someone has destroyed the elevator. Reacting quickly, Kong arrives and starts fighting Kamisen. He grabs Kamisen by the neck and throws him toward the wall. Kamisen screams in pain, but Kong orders him to stay quiet and punches him in the face. As Kong grabs Kamisen's head, Kamisen hurls an ant shell at him, landing a blow to Kong's face. However, the attack has no effect. Yi-Jin uses her threads to grab his hand. For the first time, Yi-Jin pushes herself to her limits. She realizes that even if she pulls out all her threads, it still won't be enough. Kong laughs and orders them to give their best. At the battleground, Red beats Park, telling him to stand up, because he doesn't attack opponents who are already down. Suddenly, the wall crashes open and Kong throws Kamisen and Yejin into the ring. Both Red and Park are stunned by his arrival. Kong orders Park to stop acting weak, reminding him that he is his subordinate. The crowd is shocked to see Kong in person and comments that he looks like a thug. Kong asks the insectors if they're hungry and mentions that he was in the middle of a meal. Before being interrupted, he then orders Park to open the ceiling. As the ceiling opens, humans and larvae start falling from above. Kamisen tells Yejin and Red to stop Kong from eating the bug pills and the larvae, while he takes care of the rest. Yejin worries about how they can handle such a massive opponent. As Kong reaches for the bug pill and the larvae, Kamisen calls out from behind, telling Yi-Jin to run because he came here to save her. However, Yi-Jin refuses, saying she'll hold Kong off until he absorbs the larva. Kamisen reluctantly agrees and orders all the black ants to emerge and eat the bug pills, while the black ants start devouring the pills. Red tries to punch Kong, but Kong surprises him by grabbing his hand with his teeth and easily throws him to the ceiling. Seeing this, Yi-Jin quickly forms a net with her thread to catch Red and tells him to jump back by assuring that she'll back him up. Red leaps at Kong once more. Both Red and Yi-Jin are stunned by this, and Kong quickly lunges forward to attack them and throws a simple punch from a distance that sends Red crashing into the wall behind him. Red realizes that the wind pressure from Kong's punch alone caused such destruction, and that even without his insecto form, Kong is incredibly powerful. As Kong steps back to eat more bug pills, Red charges at him again, attempting to land another punch from behind. Kong begins eating the bug pills again, consuming nearly 5 of them. However, when he reaches for another, the bug pills inside it are quickly devoured by a swarm of black ants. Kamisen orders the ants to return to him. Kong grows angry and comments to kill him before he can fully digest the pills. In response, Kamisen commands the ants to form around him, creating 10 protective shells. He then assembles a powerful weapon on his arm and declares that he will devour Kong. Looking at him, Kong comments that facing just 11 of them will be an easy victory for him. Kamisen orders the ants to move and attack. As the ants close in, Kong easily knocks them away and tells Kamisen to show him his true strength. One of the ants creates a massive hand and leaps to punch, but Kong effortlessly dodges it. At this moment, several ants grab Kong's feet, while 2 others form powerful weapons in their hands. As the dust clears, Kamisen is shocked to see that Kong isn't defeated. Instead, he is transformed into his insector form, Satsu. Kong declares that he will kill him with his own hands, and Kamisen quickly orders the two ants to fire at him again. But Kong punches them with full force and sends them back. Kamisen orders the ants to regroup. After beating him mercilessly, he grabs him by the head and comments that he's already dead. But just then, Kamisen commands the ants to eat him. This feels Kong confused, as the ants swiftly leap toward Kamisen and begin devouring him. Cameron screams in pain, and Kong remarks that he's committing suicide. However, to his shock, a massive and powerful ant monster rises up in front of him. Meanwhile, Park is standing up, and an insector informs him that the boss has left the arena. Park realizes that the higher UPS must have already been notified, and that the executive of the celestial insects, Hexagon, will definitely arrive. He orders the inspector to take the money and leave, because this club is finished for today. Back in the arena, Kong resumes fighting Kamisen, using his full power to attack. After landing a strong blow that knocks Kamisen down, Kamisen unleashes a laser attack, pushing Kong back, but Kong dismisses his attacks as simple and retaliates with a powerful punch that causes the entire area to collapse. Yi-Jin watches in surprise, noticing that Kamisen is still fighting. Kong taunts him, saying that no one can defeat him like this. He lands another punch, severing Kamisen's hand. As Kong continues to break more of Kamisen's body, he feels satisfied, but to his surprise, Kamisen's body begins to reassemble, and he leaps at Kong again. However, when he attempts to punch again, Kong watches in shock as the ants begin devouring him, and he feels angry, but as he attacks again, the ants effortlessly dodge his blows. He grows confused, realizing that every time he tries to break Kamisen, he feels as if he's being consumed more and more. Suddenly, all parts of his body begin to sever on their own, as the ants activate their magic. Kong recalls facing a powerful insector before, and the feeling he's experiencing now reminds him of that moment. He gets scared and screams in pain as the black ants devour every part of his body. Once Kong is completely consumed, the ants regroup around Kamisen, who now exudes an even more dangerous aura. They notice that his eyes have turned red, and he seems to have lost control of himself. Kamisen grabs both of them and threatens to eat them. In response, Red punches him, and Yi-Jin desperately urges him to regain his senses. However, Kamisen releases a swarm of ants toward them, as the ants begin their magic outside. Inside Kamisen's body, the real Kamisen is kneeling before a group of black ants. He watches in surprise as a red ant appears and kills the black ants, telling Kamisen that he must live. This revelation snaps Kamisen back to reality, and something strange begins to happen to his body. Both Yi-Jin and Red are confused, as the ants that had been attacking them begin to retreat. Kamisen screams as his body transforms back into its human form. Though he is badly injured, Yi-Jin quickly rushes to him, and by holding him in her arms, she notices that he's crying and calling out for his mother. She hands him to Red and urges him that they need to leave, because the area is about to collapse. As they begin to move, Park and another man appear from behind. Seeing the man, Red immediately tells Yi-Jin to take Kamisen away. The man comments that he has something to say, but before he can continue, Park suddenly leaps at Kamisen to attack. In response, the man swiftly grabs Park and slams him into the wall, asking if he plans to attack like that. The man introduces himself as Hexagon. The celestial insector, his human name, is Dogen. He tells Kamisen and the others that he has a message to deliver from Lord Kojima. He casually informs them that Kojima has sent a message for no one, that he has been watching him and will visit soon. But until then, no one must stay alive. Both Red and Yejin are puzzled, and Yejin asks if Dogen is also a celestial insector. He explains that there are 6 powerful men who serve as the executives of the celestial insects, known as the 6 legs that support Kojima. He adds that Kong had the potential to reach this position, but now this is what has happened. Yi-Jin is shocked to learn that Dogen is stronger than Kong, and there are 6 others like him besides Kojima. Dogen continues that there's no need for a bug like Kong, who goes against Lord Kojima's will. He explains that insects are the product of a superior evolution, only granted to the chosen ones. According to Dogen, Lord Kajima's plan is to elevate the insects to the top of the food chain, with the celestial insects leading the way. He dismisses Kong as just another bug in the grand scheme of things. He reveals that the celestial insects are at war with humans, and their goal is nothing less than the extermination of humanity. He tells them that he could kill them now, but first asks if they would join the celestial insects. Both Yajin and Red are shocked by the offer and quickly reject it. Dogen laughs, then tosses Park in front of them, commenting that it's a reward for them. He adds that Kajima mentioned that someone in their group needs to eat insectors to survive with that. He activates his power and swiftly disappears. Red comments that the celestial insects are incredibly powerful and tells Yajin that they need to leave immediately. They make their way out carrying Kamisen and Park with them. As they move, Eugene looks at Park and asks Red why he brought him along. Red simply replies that he wants Park to be his punching bag. While they're talking, the Bug Reaper group suddenly appears, reacting quickly. Eugene puts on a thread mask for both of them, and they hurry to escape. Some of the Bug Reapers fire at them, but Red blocks the shots and lands a powerful punch, sending them back meanwhile. The group informs Sam, who is standing outside the club, that the insectors are emerging. Sam focuses, but to his surprise, the insectors break through the wall and quickly fly away. Sam tries to fire at them, but he's too late. Then they report to Pio, informing him that one insector has been captured. Pio realizes that they're one step behind again. At this moment, he's in an executive meeting with several powerful individuals, and by apologizing for the delay, he begins the meeting as the group discusses Pio and Jean. Noting that many attacks in the area have happened because of them, Jean explains that he called this meeting to come up with a plan to prevent future casualties. Another member, Woon, begins teasing Jean about a past incident. But before their conversation can go any further, Yan interrupts. She comments that they need to wrap up the meeting quickly, as she's feeling sleepy. agrees with her, adding that, as everyone has pointed out, they've been constantly defeated by the bugs. However, today's meeting isn't about reflecting on past losses. He explains that they are here to prepare for the possibility of a bug invasion and an all-out war. He notes that the bugs have been acting strangely lately. Initially, they appeared to be moving alone, but now they seem to be organizing into groups, centered around strong and intelligent individuals. They formed a group called the Celestial Insects, and it looks like they have a systematic organization. Pio says that to stand a chance against the insectors, they need a countermeasure. He then places a book called Ant Castle Project on the table, something he obtained earlier. The group starts looking at the pictures in the book, and Pio begins to explain its contents. Suddenly, Dr. Man enters and tells him to stop flipping through the book, as it holds a personally painful story for him. He adds that the book belongs to his disciple. And when Pio asks if he was directly involved in the project, Man replies that he only observed from the sidelines. He explains that the Ant Castle Project was a top-secret initiative, carried out when the Bug Reaper team was still a research group. It was designed to create a countermeasure against the insectors. The research was successful. Then one day a mysterious explosion occurred, destroying everything in the lab. Only one test subject survived. When Ping inquires about the test subject, Man admits that he doesn't know the details, and that he is unaware of what the higher UPS decided. Afterward, he suggests that if they need a power to rival the insectors, there's another option, the insecto gene injection. He begins explaining the process and mentions a man from UN's branch, who became significantly stronger through the experiment. However, before he can continue, the room goes silent as everyone stands up and exits the meeting. Jean apologizes to Puh for his actions, but insists they need to stop discussing that subject. Meanwhile, at Bug Reaper Branch B, Ro kills his own brother Ko because he too is an insector. Afterward, he opens the door and greets a special presence, saying he's been waiting for him. The presence is none other than the powerful Master Kojima. As he enters, Ro bows before him and asks to be awakened. Without a word, Kojima grabs him by the head and crushes it. The other Bug Reaper workers rush in to confront Kojima, but their bullets have no effect on him. He calmly demands to know the location of someone, and with a swift move, He slices them all and begins destroying everything in sight. Meanwhile, Pyote and Jean are on their way back. After learning that KO is still alive, they receive news that a single insector is destroying the area, named Kajima, getting shocked. When they arrive, they witness the building being blasted. Then Kajima emerges from it, looking disappointed because he couldn't find the person he came for. Seeing him, Pyo and Jean quickly draw their weapons and charge at him. Meanwhile, Yejin and Kamisen are at Red's home. She's impressed by his room, which is filled with... At this moment, Red enters the room in his human form after taking the bath. His real name is Sung. They move toward the sofa where Kamisen is still unconscious. Suddenly, a group of black ants crawls across the floor, causing Sung to quickly jump on the sofa. He asks Yi-Jean if she wants him to call a cab for Kamisen, but she declines, explaining that Kamisen lives with his grandmother, and if he shows up like this again, she might have a heart attack. Yi-Jean then shifts to a more serious topic, mentioning that the message Kajima left was likely intended for Kamisen. She expresses concern, noting that the look in Kamusen's eyes when he thought about Kajima showed a strong desire for revenge. Meanwhile, as Jean and Pyo attack Kajima, their strikes have no effect. In response, Kajima launches a small attack that pushes them both back. Jean notices the presence of ants inside Kajima and throws an axe at him. When the axe strikes Kajima's body, Jean quickly leaps forward and delivers another axe blow to the same spot, causing only a small amount of blood to spill. Feeling surprised, Jean asks if Kajima is really an insector, then continues slashing at him. Kajima calmly responds that his body is that of the king of the insectors. He steps forward toward Pyo, and Jean cuts his arm off. However, Kajima doesn't stop and remarks that humans have their limits. Pyo answers that the case is classified and asks what he plans to do with it. Kajima explains that the case contains a power that, if obtained, will make the insectors immortal. Just as he speaks, Tae charges at him with a car, but Kajima effortlessly slices the car in half. Tae assures Pyo that he will handle this guy, so he has to escape with Jean. Then Sam arrives in a helicopter and fires a rocket launcher at Kajima, creating a huge explosion. He orders Pyo and Jean to get in quickly. However, they are shocked to see that Kajima is still alive. Meanwhile, at school, only Kamisen and Yi-Jean are in the classroom, as everyone else is on a school trip. Yi-Jean mentions that she also wants to go on the trip. When Kamisen asks how to get there, she asks for his phone afterward. They leave the school, and Yi-Jean assures him that they can reach Pohon faster than anyone else just then. Sung arrives in his car to pick them up. Yi-Jean is impressed, and they get into the car, ready to head to the school trip. Kamsen texts his grandmother to let her know he's going to Pohon, when she offers to call Kim to clear the road. He assures her that he has already taken care of it. Meanwhile, in the forest, a group of soldiers is stationed, and their senior, Kim Hyung-jin, catches a dragonfly with his bare hands. His teammates are impressed by his skill, but Kim casually comments that it tastes delicious. He then places the dragonfly in one of his team members' mouths, telling him it's protein and that he should eat it. The boy starts coughing, but Kim orders him to swallow it. Later, a group of soldiers plays soccer on the playground, and the same boy stands as the goalkeeper. He begins to feel cold, and when the ball comes toward him, he fails to stop it. One of the other soldiers starts beating him for the mistake. Soon after, all the soldiers gather on the field in front of their captain. The captain asks about their condition and if anyone is sick. He sees the boy's injured face and asks about the problem. The boy lies that he simply fell while playing soccer. Later, while the boy is standing at his duty position, Kim approaches him to apologize for his previous behavior. However, when he notices the boy isn't responding, he becomes frustrated. The dragonfly the boy ate earlier is beginning to take effect, and the boy starts transforming into an insector. And before he can react, the boy kills him on the spot. The news on the TV reports the explosion at the Bug Reaper branch, but the students are enjoying themselves. One of the students offers Choa a lollipop, but she punches him in the face and breaks his teeth. As she bends down to pick up the lollipop, something strange happens. The same soldier who had transformed into an insect earlier appears outside the bus and opens fire, killing all the students. However, because Choa is bent down, she avoids the bullets. Meanwhile, as Kamisen and the others make their way. Sung asks when they first transformed into insectors. He starts by sharing his own story and explains that he began boxing because of his natural athleticism and quickly became the rookie king. One day, he got into a fight with a tough guy from Incheon and beat him badly. The next day, the guy's gang came after him, and he ended up getting badly beaten. At that moment, his emotions took over and he lost control. So he transformed into an insector. He adds that he was confused at first about why he transformed into a ladybug. He then asked Hannah, who was making the larvae drug at the time. For an explanation, she told him that in a lifetime, humans unknowingly consume about 100 different kinds of insects and the genes of a special individual that haven't been fully absorbed into the body can infiltrate after finishing his story. Yi-Jean starts to explain her own experience. She tells them that while driving back from helping her dad with farm work, she was looking out the car window when a bug flew into her mouth. A few months later, on the day her parents were killed by Kajima, she also awakened as an insector. Then they ask Kamisen about his first awakening, but he lies that he doesn't remember anything because he was too young. As they approach the location, Sung asks one of the soldiers about the situation, and the soldier tells them to turn back, as an operation is underway ahead. Suddenly, Kamisen orders Yi-Jean and Sung to keep moving forward because there is an inspector up ahead. Sung agrees, lying to the soldier that they are turning around, and then quickly speeds up the car forward. Meanwhile, at the danger zone, the soldiers are fighting a dragonfly insector after easily defeating them. The insector begins picking up the soldiers' ammunition and grenades. A soldier calls for backup, reporting that the first platoon has been wiped out. At this moment, the Bug Reaper group arrives and reassures the soldier that they will handle the situation. And the branch manager steps forward with her team, ready to take on the insector with her skills, when the soldier insector Asai attempts to fire at Nan. Her companions rush in to protect her, launching a powerful current attack that forces him to push back. Noticing the opportunity, Nan leaps forward and lands a series of strong punches to his face as he begins to lose control, where he might still have some consciousness. But before they can react, Asai recalls a moment when Kim gave him a dragonfly. In an instant, he transforms his hand into a weapon and launches a deadly attack with the dragonflies, which kills Nan's companions on the spot. She gets stunned, and Asai commands his dragonflies to attack her. But she responds by unleashing another burst of electricity, which kills them all to her surprise. Ase begins to flee. She tries to strike him from behind but fails, so she immediately starts chasing him. Meanwhile, Yejin and Sung arrive at the bus, but when they look inside, they find it empty. Sung asks the police officer about it, who is chasing Ase as well. When he asks about the students, she tells him that they're all gone. She explains that since everyone is missing, it's clear they've been hidden away to be used as food. In response, Kamisama shifts into his Ant-Man form and leaps forward to track down Asai. Meanwhile, Choa is in a secret location where Asai has brought all the dead students. She dreams about the moment when Asai killed the students on the bus, and she notices that Asai has arrived. Seeing him, she quickly lies down among the other dead bodies, trying to stay hidden, leaving Choa stunned when he turns to leave. She realizes she must escape or she'll become his next meal. In a panic, she calls Camerson, who assures her he'll come to save her. Just then Asai notices she's still alive and grabs her by the neck. Choa pleads for him to let her go, but he doesn't listen as he prepares to eat her. Kamisen suddenly arrives and lands a powerful punch to Ace's face. The force of the blow sends Ase back, and his arm is severed in the process. Choa feels confused about why this Ant-Man is saving her, and Kamisen quickly orders the ants to gather around her to protect her from the attack. Meanwhile, Asai forms a large rifle from his hand and starts firing at Kamisen. Kamisen leaps forward, skillfully dodging the bullets, and aims a punch at Asai's face. However, as a trained soldier, Asai easily avoids the punch and lands one of his own on Kamisen's face. As they clash, Asai fires at Kamisen's stomach, forcing him to step back. Then he releases a dragonfly attack, which splits Kamisen's body in two. Despite the damage, Kamison's body quickly reverts to its original form. In response, Asai fires at him, but he blocks all the shots with his large hand and orders the black ants to attack. The ants quickly swarm around Asai and manage to cut one of his legs. However, Asai grabs Choa and begins to flee. Noticing this, Kamison quickly starts following him through the air as well. As they move, Asai asks Choa why Kamison is saving her when no one had saved him before. He angrily throws her down, intending to let her die, but Kamison catches her just in time as Asai prepares to fire at them. Nan suddenly arrives and unleashes a powerful electric attack on Asai and defeats him on the spot. She then tells Kamison to let go of Choa because this girl will only get in the way of her finishing him. She asks if he plans to take Choa hostage, then angrily leaps at him to strike. Kamison swiftly moves aside, and she grabs the unconscious Choa and also gently lays her down as she continues to attack with all her power. Feeling confused, she asks him who he really is and if he's truly trying to protect Choa. He confirms it, and she brings up the matter of 397 people who were killed the day before, angrily pointing out that there's no way an insector could save anyone if those people were also killed by one. As she charges at him again, Choa suddenly stops her from behind. She tells her that she knows Nan kills insectors to save lives, but Kame-san is just like her because he saved her too. As she steps in front of him, Nan gets surprised, and by grabbing Choa tightly, she warns her that Kame-san is an insector, a beast that often kills humans. She adds that while he may have saved her now, he might be hiding something and trying to deceive her, and was meant to counteract other insectors. Hearing the name, Kamison gets stunned and thinks to himself why Kajima would target the bug reapers. He realizes, and that this attack on the bug reapers might be connected. With that thought, he pulls Choa by the shoulder, and as he begins to transform back into his human form, he tells her that he promised to save her. He adds that he understands why Kajima came here, because it's all connected to the case. Afterward, Nan and Choa sit in the truck, and Nan calls a senior to inform them that she's heading to the headquarters with a Marine deserter inspector in custody. She also mentions they've captured a black ant who has information about the case. Once she provides all the details, she arrives at the headquarters. They recall the moment when they were at the location with Kamison, and Nan and Kamison was easily preparing to go with them. A group of black ants appears and tells them to follow Kamison and not take any action. Nan greets the workers and asks a lady to take care of Choa and heads toward the interrogation room with Kamison. As Choa walks with the lady to the infirmary, she notices another room where Pio is tending to Jean, who has his arm and leg injured. She also sees a few people attending to Kajima's injured arm. Meanwhile, Jean recalls a past moment when Tay agreed to accept the injection of insect factors in order to save everyone during the fight. As he thinks about the situation, he feels guilty believing everything is happening because of him. Noticing his distress, Pio reassures him that even with one arm and one leg, he will still be the strongest bug reaper. While they're talking, Pio receives a call that surprises him. He excuses himself by telling Jean he needs to step out for a smoke. He heads to Nan and asks about the student she brought. She explains that this person knows Kijima's goal and the Ant Castle project Pio had mentioned. Pio gets surprised by the news, and they bring the student to the interrogation room. Pio reflects on an image from a book, and Kamison comments that Kajima, who is known as the king of insectors, also knows he's a product of the same project. Pio asks him if he's the same as Kajima, but Kamishima rejects it, stating that while he doesn't have clear memories of his childhood, he understands the kind of being Kajima is. He explains that he is Project Number 2, a hybrid creature created by combining the strongest insects with the Ant Castle project. He is currently the leader of the celestial insects. Kamison replies that it involved a vessel capable of holding everything. The others are surprised by this and asks if he can lead them to the location. Cameron says he has called someone who knows the exact place and manages it. Just then, a senior man named Kim enters the headquarters, causing the workers to look up in surprise. Kim tells them he's here to see Cameron, and by stepping into the room, he stands by the door. One of the workers loudly orders everyone to stand straight because the CEO is arriving. To everyone's shock, the old lady, Giant Kamison's grandmother, enters the room. She gently asks if anyone has fed Kamison yet. She greets everyone, and when a man named Kong comments that he heard she came to see Kamison, she confirms it and adds that he's her grandson. This thing surprises everyone, including Pio and Nan at this moment. Kamison uses his ability to break the chains that were binding his hands. Seeing this, Nan activates her current magic, but Kamison tells her not to do, explaining that his grandmother would be upset if she saw it. Gum approaches with a smile, greets Camerson, and asks if he has eaten anything. She then addresses everyone, saying that they've been through a lot, and she'll explain everything slowly, but they need to eat first. They sit at the dining table and begin their meal. Once they finish, Guillaume starts her story. She tells them that this all began 18 years ago, before Bug Reaper was funded, when she ran a restaurant called Golden Foods. One day, Kim came to her to discuss the sales report, but she was talking to her son, Shong Tai, who worked in the police force and had recently been promoted. As they were talking, Shong Tai received a call from another officer, informing him about a murder and urging him to come quickly. He ends the call, and they both head out to investigate. Meanwhile, Guillaume tells Kim that she has always been worried about her son. She even suggested he take over the business, but he insisted on becoming a police officer just like his father. Song Tae arrives at the crime scene. He sees an inspector who has killed his partner. Song Tae angrily fires at him, but the shots have no effect. In response, the inspector kills Song Tae. When the news reaches Jiam, she gets sad soon after. A man informs her that the autopsy results show that the injuries were not inflicted by a human. The only explanation is that Song Tae was attacked by a beast. Days later, Guillaume sits in her office and orders her assistant Kim to find the person responsible for killing her son no matter what. At this moment, a man named Kyle enters her office and tells her that her son was killed by a bug, which shocks her even more. He shows her some pictures and explains that these bugs are called insectors. He explains that he is working on the Insector Countermeasures project and came to ask for Guillaume's support. She replies that she wants to find and kill the one who murdered her son, but she won't invest in anything without solid evidence. Sheol then calls someone in, and when the person enters, both Jiam and Kim are shocked to see it's a red ant insector. Sheol reassures them, and when the insector transforms into its human form, they realize it's a girl. Sheol then tells them that the person before them is the hope of humanity, and his daughter the prototype of the Ant Castle Project number 0, and her human name is Gammy. He asks if she agrees now, and adds that he will show her more details at his research institute. Gum follows him to an old building, where Kale is working on his projects. When they arrive, Cheol welcomes her inside. She notices pictures of various insects on the walls, and Kim informs her that Cheol is a renowned entomologist, known worldwide for his expertise in ants, having discovered dozens of new species. Kim then asks about Cheol's daughter, and he explains that she is waiting to demonstrate her combat abilities, as she will be fighting insectors. They reach a training area, and Jiam sees Gammy standing in the ring, and Jiam angrily demands to know why they're making a human fight. Shale tells her to just watch, and as both Gammy and the man transform into their insecto forms, Jiam gets stunned by the transformation, and Chio comments that this is the true nature of the insectors, and that it was such a monster that killed her son. Songtae, the fight begins, and with swift moves, Gamey strikes the other insector. Gum surprisingly asks if the countermeasure is to create the same kind of monster. Xiao responds that Gammy is different, and explains that the goal of this project is to create a being that does not harm humans, but instead considers only insectors as enemies, hunting and consuming them. He adds that the millions of ants living inside Gammy's body, using her as a host, are the ones that devour the insectors. He reveals that this is the result of the anti-insector ant model red, a project he developed independently. As Gammy defeats the insector and her red ants begin to consume him, she suddenly starts feeling pain in her stomach. Gum feels concerned about her, and Shiho informs her that Gumi is pregnant. This thing makes Gim angrier, and she strictly demands to know how he can use his pregnant daughter as a test subject. Then Gummy steps out of the ring and tells Guillaume that her husband was also killed by an insector. She hadn't known she was pregnant at the time, and driven by revenge, she made a hasty decision. However, she doesn't regret it, because the future of her child is more important than revenge. She then asks her for help, and Game quickly agrees, but warns Chael not to harm a child. She takes Gamey home and cares for her gently, while Chael continues working on his new project. They name him Camison, and at the same time, Chael holds another child, Camison's twin brother, and names him Mizhan. The children grow up playing with Gim, who cares for them as her own grandsons. One day, when they are 5 years old, the next day, a man approaches Gim and informs her that they've found the inspector who killed her son. Gamey calmly asks for his location, and the man replies that he hasn't left Jeju Island yet, and agents are still tracking him. Gamey says she will go to confront him immediately, but Gwen expresses concern and asks what will happen to the children. Gamey tells her it's time to fulfill her promise. She adds that thanks to Guam. At this moment, she tells her something serious, that a few days ago, while the kids are watching TV, Maikon insists on getting a tiger sword he saw on the screen. When Game tells him they'll buy it another day, she's shocked to see Camison create the sword with his ability, using the black ants. Game realizes that his insector abilities have transferred to him. She then asks about Maikon, but Game reassures her that Maikon has no abilities and is just a normal human. Gamey apologizes for surprising her, but Guillaume assures her that, as their grandmother, nothing about this news shocks her. However, she requests that Gamey return safely, because she's worried about losing her. As Gamey heads out to confront the insector, Guillaume, tired from playing with the kids, meanwhile, secretly slip away to where their grandfather is experimenting on another man. When they arrive, they see the man attempting to transform into a blue Ant-Man, but failing due to his lack of imagination. Then Zhang Qiu's assistant tells the man, named Choi, that if he can't succeed in the transformation, he won't be number one. Choi refuses it and blames them for the failure, but Zhang responds that they've done everything they can. The last step is up to him, and the transformation depends entirely on his imagination. As Choi leaves, the two kids approach him, teasing him for his failure. Once again, Maikon tells him that he can't do it, but his brother Camison can handle the ants. Choi is surprised, and the three of them step outside to test Camison. Camison easily creates a sword in front of them, leaving Choi even more astonished, wondering if it's something he inherited from his mother. Just then, they hear commotion as the other group members rush in, because Gammy has returned from the fight and she is badly injured. The kids quickly run to check on their mother and find some serious wounds on her body. At this moment, Gammy suddenly collapses and shocks everyone around her. She informs them that they've finally captured the insector. Meanwhile, in a special room, Chiel and Zhang tie the insector, a stag beetle named Dwell, with chains. They remark that it's the strongest and most dangerous insector. The doctor explains that Gumi's life isn't in immediate danger, but her condition is serious, and it will be difficult for her to continue working as Zero in the future. Hearing this, Jayam and the others grow more worried. Chiel enters the room, and when Gumi apologizes for everything that happened, Chiel smiles and thanks her. He explains that thanks to her support, they've captured the dangerous insector, and Gamey did her best in the fight. Chiel then calls for Camison to follow him, but Guillaume stops him, asking where he's taking the child in this situation. Chael explains that Camison is a special being, chosen by the ants from birth. He intends to assess Camison's condition and work on improving the areas where Gammy fell short. Hearing this, Jayam is stunned and tries to stop Chiel, but Chiel forcefully drags Camison away for the experiment, as Jayam cries behind them. Gum tells him not to say such things as it's painful, but Michonne runs off, saying that everyone is only worried about Cameron, and no one is properly looking after him. Maikon then finds Choi, who is sitting outside, and tells him everything. He also asks Choi if he wants to be number one, but Choi replies that he just wants the honor and to become more popular. As Choi tries to transform again, he fails and angrily starts punching a tree. At this moment, a swarm of wasps attacks them. Choi uses his blue ants to stop them. But when the wasps move to bite Maikan, they both watch in surprise as the wasps suddenly enter Maikan's body and then emerge from it. Something strange begins happening to Maikan's body, and he tells Choi that he's feeling weird. Choi asks if he should take him to the infirmary, but Maikan refuses, saying he wants to go to his grandfather instead. Meanwhile, Cheol and Jong watch as Kamisen creates a sword using his black ants. As he does this, Jong notices that Kamisen's highest cohesion rate is 98.1%, which surprises him because Gamy's highest cohesion rate is 97.8. They then summon the hand of an insector and ask Kamisen if he can command the ants to eat it. Kamisen gives the order, and suddenly the ants begin to move and start devouring the hand. Even better than the red and blue ants he has created, their ability to follow orders is impressive. However, Cheol realizes that there aren't many of them yet, so they haven't harmed Kamisen's body. But if their numbers increase enough to form a suit, they could end up consuming Kamisen himself. Meanwhile, Maikan goes to the basement looking for Cheol, wanting to tell him that he's now powerful and wants to be number 2. When he enters, he's surprised to find the place empty. His shock grows when he sees that the insector Dwell has broken free from his chains and is standing right in front of him. Cheol and the others are quickly informed about this, and as Dwell moves to kill Maichan, Choi arrives in his insecta form and lands a punch to Dwell's face. A fight breaks out, but Dwell beats Choi badly. As he moves toward Maichan, Choi shifts into another insector form and delivers a powerful punch to Dwell's stomach, which sends him back despite this. Dwell isn't defeated and charges at Maikan again. But to his surprise, when Maikan points his hand at him, a strange power erupts from his body, which instantly defeats Dwell. Just as Cheol and Jong arrive, they see that both Choi and Maikan are safe. A few days later, Jong takes Choi to Brooklyn, New York, where insectors are attacking civilians. Choi begins to fight and defeat them. But during the chaos, a building is blasted. After the incident, Choi returns to Kyle, who ties him up in the special room, that a monster was behind the attack. Cheol tells Choi that he sent him to New York to eliminate the insectors, but instead he ended up killing people. Calling him number 2, he asks if he sees himself as a hero or an insector. He explains that 2 months ago, after the Dwell incident, he was reborn and his power has become so overwhelming that he can no longer control it. That's why this happened, Cheol responds. But they don't need a hero who can't control his power. But Choi asks if the world doesn't need him now, and also questions what he will do without him, and whether he has confidence in that 5-year-old. Number 1, meanwhile, Gammy is cooking a delicious meal at home, and calls her kids to come and eat. Kamisen is excited to see the food, but asks sadly about his grandmother, who hasn't been around lately. Gammy recalls the moment when Gwem left, and reassures Kamisen that they will visit her next time. She also asks him to call Maikan for dinner. When Kamisen goes to find his brother, he sees Maikan talking with Cheol, and is telling him that he can now control insects freely, and with this power, he can make everyone stronger. He says he's also a hero. Cheol remembers something Jong had told him earlier, that Maikan is like an insect net, able to absorb not only bugs, but also insectors into his body and transfer that power to humans. Hearing this, Cheol hugs Maikan and sadly tells him that he is a failure, which causes Maikan to get surprised. Maikan sneaks up to him and starts absorbing the black ants from his body. Because of jealousy, Kamisen screams in pain, and when Gammy hears him, she rushes in and slaps Maikan for his actions. She tells him that if the ants keep entering their bodies, it could be dangerous, and she just wants him to stay normal. Maikan disagrees, saying that everyone knows what his power is, but no one is happy about it. Just then Cheol arrives, and seeing Maikan's rude behavior, decides to take him with him. He announces that Maikan has the ability to absorb and release the power of insects, and he's been deemed a dangerous threat. He adds that until they can determine the proper treatment, Maikan will be placed in quarantine. Hearing this, Maikan feels bad and mutters that he's not a failure, as he's the only one who has truly succeeded. A few days later, Gammy visits her father and asks what will happen to Maikan as it's been 2 weeks. Kale responds that he has calculated it many times, but Maikon will one day cause the destruction of humanity. Gamey quickly heads in that direction. Meanwhile, Maikon summons several insects, causing chaos in the area. He uses his powers to kill 2 people. When Gamey arrives, she's shocked by the scene. Before she can act, the insectors attack her. When Maikon tells her to accept him, she transforms into her insector form and fights off the other insectors. As she defeats them, she tells Maikon that she is his mother and that she will always accept him. She gently hugs him, and by apologizing for hurting him, she asks him to stop all of this. As she speaks, the insector suddenly thrusts its hand into Gamey's stomach from behind, which shocks both her and Maikon. He angrily orders the insector to back off. Just then, Choi arrives, and together they defeat the insecto on the spot. Afterward, Maikon starts crying as he sees his mother lying on the ground. Kale arrives, and by aiming a gun at Maikon, he orders him to step away from Gamey as he prepares to shoot. Choi pulls him back and asks what he's doing. Shield demands him to stay out of it, and threatens to dispose of him as well. But Choi laughs and tells him to do what he wants. Then Xiao pulls out a remote and tells him that if that's the case, he'll dispose of him first. As he prepares to press the button, Choi suddenly leaps at him, grabs him by the neck, and asks if he planted a bomb in his body. Xiao confirms it, and Ms. Han recalls a previous conversation with Choi, where Choi mentioned that Miss Han's presence had awakened him into a powerful insector. Just as Chow presses the button, something strange happens to Choi's body. Keol explains that he had planted a new Queen Blue and inside him, and had just activated the attack order with the detonator. As Choi's insecto form begins to melt, Maikon steps in and uses his powerful ability. When the dust settles, Keol feels relief and thinks that the danger is over. But to his shock, Choi is not defeated. Instead, he grows stronger, turning into a monstrous form. Meanwhile, Maikon is not in his senses. Xiao surprisingly asks if Choi has turned into a monster. As Choi moves closer and prepares to punch Kyle, Gamey steps in and blocks his punch with some effort. Meanwhile, as Kamisen is exhausted from searching for his mother, Choi lands a punch on Gamey and sends her back. Kyle quickly tells her that he has a plan and urges her to go upstairs, take Kamisen with her, and run. Gamey insists that she can't leave without Maikon. As they talk, Kamisen suddenly arrives and gets shocked to see his mother in such a condition. Maikon angrily blames Kamisen, preparing to attack him just then. Xiao opens fire on Choi and shouts that he can't let humanity's hope be lost like this. But from behind, Miss Han declares that if that's the case, he will become humanity's despair. In an instant, Choi cuts Kyle in half, which causes Gamey to be stunned. With his last breath, Cheel tells her to protect Kamisen as he's about to destroy the entire area. He presses a button and triggers a massive explosion that destroys the building. In the chaos, Gamey quickly shields Kamisen with a protective barrier made from her red ants, but she herself doesn't survive the blast. After the explosion, ambulances and search teams arrive at the scene, finding Kamisen and Mi-chan alive. But they discover that Gamey has died. Kamisen is then rushed to the hospital, where Guillaume anxiously asks Zhang about his condition. Zhang places some photos of Choi and Gamey in the book and assures Guillaume that Kamisen has no injuries. He also informs her that Gamey has passed away. When Game asks about Mai-chan, he explains that Mai-chan is currently being held in an underground facility on the outskirts of Seoul. Game apologizes to him that Mai-chan's situation will leave him unemployed, but she has plans for the future. However, Young rejects her offer, explaining that as Child's assistant, he shares responsibility for the research and will now take care of Maikon in the underground facility. Then Guillaume takes Kamisen to the graves of his mother and grandfather, telling him that from now on she will care for him like a grandmother. She also decides to sell her company, Golden Foods, and informs her assistant Kim that she has now created a new company, Bug Reaper, and he is the president since she is retiring. Now in the present, Jayam sits with Po and the others, explaining how the Bug Reaper came to be, after hearing the story. But Gum responds that she came to tell them that, but first asks what they plan to do with the boy. However, Po comments that if they do nothing, Bug Reaper will eventually be destroyed by Kojima's relentless attacks. As everyone struggles to figure out what to do, Kamisen suddenly speaks up, declaring that he will handle it. His statement shocks everyone, and Nan asks if he plans to kill his own brother. Kamisen responds that he's not going to kill Mizhan, but instead he will erase his ability. He explains that he's done something similar before, mentioning that it involved an artificial being similar to an insector. He believes that if the ants can consume the insect gene inside Mizhan, he can save him. Meanwhile, Sung and Yi-jin are still waiting in the car for Kamisen to return. As they chat, they notice Gyun. The same man from before comes there. They get surprised as Yoon throws bubbles toward the Bug Reaper headquarters security. When the security team touches the bubbles, they explode, realizing what's happening. Yajin and Sung rush to the scene to fight him. At this moment, Kamisen senses the presence of an insector approaching. A voice announces that an insector is destroying the outer wall of the headquarters, and 2 more insectors are standing nearby. As everyone prepares to fight, Kamisen reassures Pio that the other 2 insectors are his friends. He tells Pio to bring the grandmother to Maikon, and he himself will join them afterward. Meanwhile, Gun confronts Yejin and Sung, asking about their 3rd companion. He also brings up the proposal he made to them earlier. The 2 reject it once again and firmly demand to know why he's here. Gien responds that he's come to retrieve Kojima's lost arm and confirm the existence of the case. Both Yi-jin and Sung are confused, and Gyun adds that aside from him, the entire Hexagon organization is on standby, ready to raid every Bug Reaper base in search of the case. At this moment, some of the group members rush in to fight Gyun, but he calmly remarks that he needs to finish his task quickly, as he hates being late for work. With that, he throws a bubble attack at Yi-jin and Sung, who immediately realize that the bubbles contain bombs and start dodging them. Explosions go off around the area. When Sung tries to punch him, he is shocked to see a bubble shield appear in front of his face. Goon then transforms into his insector form and orders them to attack him all at once. Sung attempts to punch him, but Gyun swiftly moves aside and lands a powerful kick to his face and sends him back. Sung keeps attacking, but Gyun easily dodges every move. When Sung tries to land a barrier punch, a bubble shield appears in front of him again, and Gyun responds by delivering another kick to his stomach. As Sung kneels down, Gyun approaches and notices that they both have names, like Silk and Red, so he gives himself a name based on his specialty. Bubble. He then mentions that he has another skill, and tells Yi-jin that he's about to show it to her. With that, he leaps at her, and by grabbing her, he throws her forcefully to the ground, causing her to faint instantly. Watching the son grows angry at himself as he reflects on his past. He realizes that every time he fights, he ends up losing. He thinks about the medals he once earned and understands that his current situation is a result of the shelter. He now belongs to thinking that. He suddenly breaks his own shelter and throws it aside. Meanwhile, Gyun prepares to deliver a leap attack to the unconscious Yi-jin. Just as he's about to strike, a swarm of ladybugs appears, pushing Yi-jin out of harm's way. His body is looking stronger than before. Sung carefully places Yi-jin to the side and seriously declares that he's going to end this with a knockout. He recalls a conversation from the past. She confirmed it and even offered him one, but he refused, because he wanted to become stronger through his own strength. She explained that the larvae were like drugs, temporarily granting power without the need for desire. However, once their desire for power reached its peak, they would shed their restraints, triggering what she called the second awakening. Thinking about this, Sung feels his body become lighter, and with newfound strength, he charges into battle with Gyun. Meanwhile, an automatic shield blocks the attack. Noticing the opportunity, Sung lands a powerful punch to Jun's face and sends him back. Jun recovers quickly, but when he leaps at Sung again, Sung effortlessly starts beating him. Then Gun launches a series of kick attacks at Sung, but the automatic shields block each one. Sung again leaps forward and delivers a final powerful punch. The force of the punch drives his entire hand into Gun's stomach, causing him to scream in pain. A blast erupts and Gun gets defeated. Both Sung and Yejin feel relieved, knowing they've taken down the celestial insector from Hexagon. But when she asks why he's so late, Kamisen seriously orders her to get up immediately. She's confused, but before she can react, Hannah appears, and from behind Sung, she injects him with a powerful substance and congratulates him on his second awakening. He collapses and Hannah apologizes, explaining that this was the only way to get her research recognized by him. At this moment, a massive swarm of insectors appears in the sky. Kamisen informs Yi-Jin that these are the larvae from Six Shot, now transformed into insectors, and Tae asks about reinforcements. Sam replies that support has been requested from all regions, but everyone is facing the same situation. Tae orders the group to attack, and they begin firing, watching the chaos. Yi-Jin tells Kamisen that they need to leave, since the Bug Reapers have arrived. However, Kamisen refuses, saying his grandmother and Kyle are still inside the headquarters, and Yi-Jin understands that they have to fight. As the larvae leap toward them, Yi-Jin quickly creates a thread wall with her magic to block their attack, but it doesn't seem to slow them down much. Kamisen then summons a massive hand made of black ants and sends some shells to devour the larvae directly. While they're focused on the battle inside the headquarters, Choa continues to follow the lady nurse. Feeling confused, Choa asks where they're going, since the shelter is supposed to be in the other direction. The nurse leads her to Research Lab 3, where Kajima's arm is stored. When the doctors question why she's here without permission, she uses her ability to kill them all, leaving Choa in shock. The lady nurse informs Hannah through her earpiece that she has secured Kajima's arm, and that the car will be leaving through the back gate soon, so Hannah should follow it. Meanwhile, the car, carrying Guillaume and the otters, drives out, and as Hannah watches it, she feels satisfied, commenting that they will soon discover the location. Inside the headquarters, the lady nurse transforms into her butterfly insector form, and Choa is shocked to see her. To her surprise, the nurse is none other than her school friend, Seijin. She gently greets Choa. Choa is surprised by her wings, and Seijin explains that she is a rare specimen, one of the few larvae to develop individually among the many others, which is why she has become so strong. She reassures her that from now on, she doesn't need to fear insects, as Seijin will protect her, and also that she has to come with her. Just as she says this, Jean arrives and throws a stick at her. Seijin quickly dodges it, but the stick lands in the container holding Kajima's arm. Sajin throws an attack, but Jean dodges it and launches a current-based attack, which surprises her. She's amazed that a human can fight with only one arm and leg. Just as Jean is about to slash her, Kamisen steps in between and stops him. She also tells Seijin to leave quickly, and Seijin grabs Kajima's arm and escapes from there. Outside the headquarters, the group is struggling to deal with the insectors, despite attacking them directly on their heads. The insectors aren't dying. Kamisen manages to kill one of the insectors and quickly realizes the problem. He instructs the others to remove the larvae from the necks of the insectors and bring them to him. They agree to his plan. Meanwhile, Yi-Jin, still holding the insectors with her thread magic, comments that there are still too many left. Feeling frustrated, she transforms into her powerful insector form once again, and her hair grows stronger. Meanwhile, Jayam and the others arrive at the location where Maikon is being held. As they look around, Pyo and Nan comment that the place appears to be just an apartment. Gum confirms their observation and greets some of her workers, telling them to rest for the day's work. Winper remarks that there's nothing here. Gum tells them to wait a moment. She and Kim place their badges on the ground, and suddenly, the ground slides open and reveals a hidden passage underground. Maikon, tied to a chair, informs Jong that someone is approaching. Meanwhile, Sajun arrives at the secret location where Kajima is staying and respectfully hands him his arm. Kajima attaches his arm back and assures Sae Jean that he will spare her life, ordering her to lead him to the location of the case. Back at the hidden place, Gwym and the others descend and apologizes for the inconvenience. As she explains the situation, they continue downward. Kim tells them to take the elevator further down, assuring them he will come once Camerson arrives. They agree, and when they reach the bottom, John greets them and thanks Guillaume for her help during this time. He then leads them to the room where Ms. Han is being held. Meanwhile, Yi Jin eliminates all the insectors and orders Kamisen to consume the larvae. Falling from them, the ant shelters quickly devour them, and when Kamisen commands them to regroup on his body, he transforms into a powerful Ant-Man. Which surprises Yajin. He instructs her to follow him and move swiftly. Yijin uses her thread magic to grab Sung and follows him. The Bug Reapers watch in surprise as they see the insectors defeated, and the group escaping suddenly. In human form, meanwhile, Gum feels emotional as Mike Han asks why she's so late. She gently apologizes, and Mike Han then asks if she brought others with her to kill him. But the people with her are employees of the company he founded, and they are not here to harm him. She also informs him that Kame's son is on his way and might be able to help him. Mike Han laughs and asks how a person with nothing but ants in his body could fix him. He adds that even though Uncle Choi tried many times to rid him of this cursed ability, he never succeeded. He firmly states that he has lived for 11 years chained up in a room, and even if the world changes, he refuses to be freed as they talk. The wall suddenly breaks, and Kijima Choi enters, who throws Kim in front of them. They are shocked to see this. Kijima slashes with his hand, causing a huge blast. Po spits out blood, and they're stunned to see Jayam also faint from the serious injury. At this moment, Kamisen is on his way, and when he senses something bad has happened to his grandmother, he leaps forward quickly. Meanwhile, as Po continues to fight, Kajima suddenly attempts to punch him. Po dodges it, and when the punch is aimed at Maikon, Kajima stops it just in time. Then John arrives with a robot that grabs Kajima in its arms. From behind, John comments that it's time to use Keel's method as he reaches for the button to destroy Kajima. Hannah suddenly appears and stops his hand. At this moment, Maikon is freed from his chains by Hannah. Using his power, he transforms Jong into an insector, which surprises Hannah as well. Meanwhile, as Po and Nin exit, Nin tells him to take Ji Hun and Kim to the hospital, while she stays behind to fight Kajima. Suddenly, Mike Han emerges from the underground and asks about his grandmother's condition. As he speaks, he launches an attack at them, but they quickly dodge, and the attack collides with a bird. The bird transforms into an insector and starts attacking Po and the others. When Gayam falls from Nan's arms and the bird, Insector prepares to attack her. Kamisen arrives and kills it on spot, seeing Kamisen's red form. Maikon realizes he is the same as the mother. Kamisen approaches Gam, ordering Nan and Po to take her and leave immediately, while he stays behind to kill Maikon. At this moment, Kijima leaps at him to attack, but Kamisen dodges, and they both engage in a serious battle with their powers. Kamisen initially gains the upper hand, but his attacks don't seem to affect Kajima. Then Kajima counters with a powerful slash, and Kamisen manages to dodge it, but the slash cuts through the entire building. Kamisen grabs Kajima by his horns, but Kajima punches him and sends him crashing into another building. Kajima continues with more attacks and throws him to the ground. Doing this, he comments that he once wanted to become a hero and take his mother, Gami's place, but he failed. He vows not to let Kamisen become a hero either. He then slashes and cuts Kamisen's head, but to his surprise, Kamisen's human head emerges from the severed neck as Kajima prepares to strike again. Kamisen quickly forms a sword from black ants and thrusts it into Kajima's stomach, ordering the ants to devour him. The ants obey, and Kamisen feels relief. However, he is shocked to see that the ants have only eaten Kajima's half armor. At this moment, Kamisen is unable to move, and as Kajima prepares to deliver the final blow, Maikon suddenly appears between them and stops Kajima's hand. Gripping Kajima's arm, he uses his powers, commenting that it's time to end this. He absorbs all the negative power from Kajima and defeats him. Then he turns to Kamisen, holding the sword that he had made for him when they were children. He suddenly drives the sword into Kamisen's stomach, placing his hand on his neck. He declares that now he will take all of his power as well. Kamisen orders the ants to attack Mizhan, and as they obey, something strange begins to happen between them. Meanwhile, Yi Jin holds Sung and searches for Kamisen. which destroys all the buildings in the area. Kamisen wakes up in the hospital, finding Pyo and Yejin also there. But Pyo nervously tells him that after the explosion, she and Nan went missing. Cameron is shocked by the news, and Pyo reassures him that both the Bug Reapers and the police are actively searching for them. On the TV, the news reports that due to the Bug Reapers' efforts, the company has now received official authorization from the Korean government. But then tells Kamisen that even though he no longer has the power of the Black Ants, they still need his help. He asks if Kamisen will join the Bug Reapers, as they are still capable of killing the insectors.